So, I just had to make this video because of this recent announcement that you probably already know about, but I might as well make a video on it. And with this new announcement, Disney has officially announced that they're making a Rocketeer reboot. You heard that right, a Rocketeer reboot. Now here's essentially what it's going to be about. It's going to have a black female lead as the Rocketeer. Really? That idea alone already sounds shitty. I mean, when I heard about this announcement of like a Rocketeer reboot, my eyes kind of watered in a way. They kind of like, in tears. They kind of cried a little bit in tears. And not in a good way though, but in a bad way. Here's my thoughts on this movie. Why? Why do you want to make a reboot, or a reboot, or a readaptation, or a reimagining of The Rocketeer? The Rocketeer is a perfectly fine film, without it needing a sequel, or a reboot, or even, what even is worse, a reboot. Because Hollywood essentially, Hollywood has been doing this lately, where they've essentially been doing these things called reboot. And I think a lot of people, like myself included, are really confused at what this film is even fucking about. And turns out, because I was really confused, because I was looking at this information, I was thinking, is this a reboot? Or is this a sequel? And turns out, it's both of them. It's going to be a sequel, and it's going to be a reboot. Or it's essentially going to say, hey, we're going to be a sequel, to the original Rocketeer, but we're not even going to mention or even catch up with any of the previous characters or even find out what happens to them. I mean, they've said that the original Rocketeer in the article that I'm looking at right now, where the original Rocketeer, Bill Campbell, that's not his name, but I forgot his name for the movie because I haven't seen it in a long time. But he went to Germany and he went to go fight Nazis and he disappeared. That's it. I don't know if it's going to catch up with any other characters like Peavy, or Jennifer Connelly's character, but fuck that. What it's gonna do essentially is gonna say, hey, we're gonna be a sequel, but we're gonna fuck all the characters that you saw in the last movie, all of the things that got started in the first movie, and just fuck that shit. It sucks. I personally, in my opinion, I don't know why everybody's so optimistic about this. Everybody says this is a good idea, it's okay. It's okay to have a reboot of The Rocketeer. No, it isn't. It's not a good idea. It's not a good idea. It feels like a money-making scheme by Disney to resurrect an old franchise that they really, to be honest, haven't given a shit about throughout the past few years. Now, I got a list here of points about the movie I really just want to talk about. But here, let's keep going with this video. One of the things that I think Hollywood has gone to this point, in my opinion, and the Rocketeer reboot at this point, I know this is not really about the Rocketeer reboot, with the point I'm about to talk about, but with this recent announcement of the reboot, it kind of has pushed me over the edge. I mean, Ghostbusters did this stupid shit of sexism and also rebooted a classic film, and it turned out fantastic, quote unquote, that it's gone to the point that Hollywood's been making too many reboots, remakes, and what's even worse, rebootquels. Which a rebootquel, I think I've already said this before in my video, but it's essentially a sequel and a reboot. It brings in an old audience, it also brings in a new audience, because the old audience comes into the movie saying that this is a sequel, and I'm gonna go see this because this is a sequel to the original that I love. But then also, you gotta bring in the new audience, which is like, it's gonna reboot everything. So essentially, it's a reboot disguised as a sequel, which is kind of the worst possible reboot, because it's both of the elements you feared about the movie. It's gonna act as if we were in the same universe, but it's not really gonna act like it's gonna be part of that universe, if that makes any sense. It sucks. It feels like a money-making scheme that Hollywood's been doing lately. And it kind of started with Jurassic World and The Force Awakens. And granted, I understand why Force Awakens made a lot of money. It's a Star Wars movie, and everybody wanted to go see a Star Wars movie because they haven't seen one in like 10 years since Episode 3. But Jurassic World, I still am baffled, or I'm complexed, I guess you could say, of how much money that movie made. I did not think that movie made that much money. I did not think it was going to make that much money. And to much of my surprise, it made over $1 billion. And I don't know if it made more than the first film, but I think it did. And I don't know why it made that much. I think it was maybe because people love dinosaurs so much. Or people are like, oh my god, the dinosaur movies are back. Even though dinosaur movies have been around in small movies and even CGI animated films for quite a while since Jurassic Park 3. I guess it's because everybody only gives a shit about Jurassic Park in terms of dinosaur movies. So you have that. And the reason why, now you could say, well, this is just a reboot sequel. It's just an announcement of a reboot sequel. What's so bad about it? Well, first off, it's already bad enough that they're making the movie. Second of all, reboots and sequels to classic films have proven in the past by Hollywood that they can't do that. They're not that good. They haven't shown us that they can do many original ideas and expand on the original. They can't do that. It sucks, and most of these reboots and sequels always. I haven't seen a ton of reboots and sequels, but some of the more recent ones I've seen, including Ghostbusters, most of them have sucked or are just disappointing. And what I don't understand is why Hollywood makes so many of them. It doesn't make any sense to me because they don't make that much money. I mean, I guess you could say let's do the most obvious example, Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters had, I believe, $144 million budget. Now, this is coming from a guy who's not looking it up on his computer. But that movie had about $140 million as a budget. And the movie, I think, at this point is $130 million, the last time I checked. Paul Feig said that movie has to make $500 million as a total worldwide gross to become successful. That film is not going to make $500 million. I guarantee you, it's not going to make $500 million. And I know some people say when that film opened up in its opening weekend that it wasn't that bad. It wasn't going to be the train wreck at the box office that Sony thought it was going to be. It was sort of just okay at the box office. But first off, that's disappointing as a Ghostbusters movie. Because Ghostbusters should be deserved and watched more than just mediocre at the box office. And second off, that film dropped really sharply its second weekend. And I don't think it's going to make $500 million as a total. I could be wrong. The film could, I mean, for God's sakes, the movie is going to be lucky if it could get past its budget. Seriously, it's that bad. I mean, I could be wrong. Sony, the executives at Sony want a sequel to that movie, and I personally don't want a sequel because that movie was terrible. But that film is not making $500 million. I could be wrong. That film could make $500 million. But I don't think it will. But I'm really getting off topic. Reboots and sequels, and especially rebootquels, haven't shown in the past. Now, granted, there hasn't been too many rebootquels, so I can't really say too much about that. But reboots and sequels to classic films that were already great, most of the time I've seen, have not shown us that they can be, original enough, to be good enough, to be well directed enough. For God's sakes, most of them are kind of rehashes to the original. For God's sakes, use same plot points. Like in the Ghostbusters reboot, and I know I'm going to mention Ghostbusters again, but in Ghostbusters the reboot, they had the same fucking concept of picking a destructor or a destroyer at the end of the movie, and the destroyer, whatever form they choose, it will come and destroy them. For example, in Ghostbusters, Ray accidentally chose the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. And Ghostbusters the reboot, Patty she says, I want the Ghostbusters logo. And the Ghostbuster logo comes and tries to destroy them. You see that? How original that is? It just uses same plot points. And granted, some movies can do that and work, but don't do that in the way that so lackluster in writing and directing and does in a horrible way. So overall, reboots and sequels haven't made that much money in the past. And Disney, they're making a rebootquel of this movie. And rebootquels, I think I've talked about it at least twice in this video, but rebootquels are stupid. I think it's a stupid way of saying, well, we're going to introduce an old audience, but at the same time, we're going to introduce a new audience. So it's like, we're going to be like, it's a sequel. It's going to be connected to your original film. And that's where it's going to bring the original fans back. And then it's going to bring the new fans by just cleaning the slate, having a new cast of characters. Fuck the original characters from the original movie. Fuck what happened in the first movie. And it's a rebootquel. And it's a worse type of remake if you think about it, a reboot, because it's a reboot disguised as a sequel. And that's not good at all. It's like Hollywood has figured out, well, we're tired of your fucking reboots. We know we're tired. We know that you are tired of our reboots. So what we're going to do, we're going to make a sequel, but here's the catch. It's going to be sort of a reboot, but it's going to act as a sequel. It sucks. It just sucks. It's just a stupid money-making scheme that is a stupid way of making the old audience and the new audience somehow converge to like a movie together and bringing both of them so they get double times of money like The Force Awakens. But most of the movies I've seen try to do that, they don't work. Second of all, as I've mentioned previously at the beginning of this video, the forced diversity that Hollywood thinks, oh, well, we just change up the race and change up the gender of the characters. Instead of having a male white Rocketeer, we're going to have a female black Rocketeer. Because that's so progressive. That's going to change the way of the reboots and the rebootquels and the sequels of Hollywood today. It's so revolutionary. No, it isn't. I don't know why Disney's even doing it. Is it because they're trying to say something about diversity and racism? Is that going to be a thing in the movie? Or is it they looked at the Ghostbusters movie and said, wow, that sexism controversy kind of marketed that film itself. Even though it did, but it marketed itself in a much negative way. And like, why are they doing this? Like, why are they doing this angle of the movie? Like, is it because they want to make money, which is why they're making the movie usually, is to make money. But the thing is, Ghostbusters, as I previously said, is probably not going to make. It's not going to make $500 million, and it might get over its budget, but that would be if it's lucky. So it's not making that much money. It had huge negative controversy around it, and Disney thinks that's a good idea. We're going to do a black female Rocketeer. No, it doesn't make sense, and it's stupid. It just doesn't make any sense. And it's just Hollywood trying to be diverse and say, hey, we have a black female Rocketeer. This is totally progressive and, totally makes sense. Doesn't make sense. And also, the thing about many people not talking about this movie and being slightly optimistic is really kind of bullshit. Because I've noticed some people saying, well, this movie, a woman turning into a black character, or a white person turning into a black character is not that big of a deal. But if a black character turns into a white character, that's a big deal, right? I don't know. That's maybe how I view it sometimes on these type of things that happen in film. But overall, a black female Rocketeer, and I don't hate this idea because I don't like black female Rocketeers. I don't like blacks in general and females in general. That's really stupid. I'm not racist. I just don't like the idea of a black female Rocketeer as a whole. I don't, as an overall about this reboot, I don't want it. I don't want a Rocketeer reboot or a rebootquel. I don't want a film that essentially trashes the original and just reboots it in a way. Like, it's a stupid money-making scheme so that we can resurrect an old franchise that had slight underrated status and just make money off of it. Now, I could be wrong. If this film comes out, maybe 2019, let's just say, and the film is actually pretty good, and I doubt it's going to be as good as the original, but if it's a good movie or a decently good movie, and that's another thing. If the movie's just okay, that's another problem. Because if this reboot is just okay, That's another problem, because then Hollywood's gonna keep pumping out more remakes that are just okay or mediocre. But if this movie does turn out to be good, if it gets like an 8 out of 10, which is, I doubt this film was gonna be really any good, I will say sorry, or I will eat all my shit that I said in this video. I'll probably make another video saying I'm sorry for making all that video stuff. But I don't think it's gonna happen. I really don't. I don't think that we're gonna get a good Rocketeer reboot out of this with a black female lead. Now, here's the story in a nutshell, that if you don't know what this is, essentially it's gonna be about a black female pilot that gets stranded, sort of, and she has to like find a science. It's gonna be set 6 years after the original. It's gonna be following a young African American pilot, and she's gonna take up the mantle of the Rocketeer to protect the jetpack technology from an evil scientist bent on turning the tide of the Cold War. That's it. That's the plot. That's the plot in a nutshell. Personally, I don't think it sounds that good. It does not sound that good. It sounds like a kooky version of the Rocketeer that sounds like something that was made of like a cartoon, you know? And for fuck's sake, why aren't we getting a cartoon sequel of the Rocketeer? If Disney really wanted to do some kind of sequel to the Rocketeer, I personally think it was way too late to do a live action sequel. I've always said this about the Rocketeer when I talk to other people about it. If they, and possibilities of doing more Rocketeer related films, is the fact that A, they could simply just reboot the movie, which we're kind of getting with this reboot. B, they could make a straight up sequel. But the thing about doing a sequel to the original Rocketeer with the original actors and all that is the fact that the film did not do that well financially when it came out. And second of all, they should have did it in the 90s when they had the chance. They should have did it in the 90s. I've heard some people say that they were going to do a movie where the Rocketeer fights the Nazis, which it's not a bad idea, but we kind of got. I'm going to say this right now. We kind of got that with Captain America: The First Avenger, where it has elements and spirits and themes, kind of what it would be in a Rocketeer sequel. And I'm not going to straight out say that Captain America: The First Avenger is a Rocketeer 2. No, it's not. It's a Captain America movie. But it does have elements and themes that would be in a Rocketeer 2. And plus, Captain America: The First Avenger was directed by Joe Johnston, which was the director of the original Rocketeer. And I just, that's it. It sucks. I'm kind of just rambling at this point. Another point I want to talk about is Disney as a whole. Disney taking their chances and taking, out of all the reboots they could have done, they chose to do a Rocketeer's reboot Rocketeer, a reboot of the Rocketeer with a black female Rocketeer. Like, out of all those ideas, now granted, I don't know what those ideas could have been, but of all the ideas, I could think of films really on top of my head that they could have done. Well, I can't really right now, but they could have done so many films that nobody's noticed from Disney that I feel that need to get remade. For example, The Little Mermaid. I'm one of these few people who says the book that the story that the Little Mermaid was based off was so much better than the cartoon movie. The cartoon movie is not a terrible movie, but it needs a remake that's closer to the book. Because what happened with The Little Mermaid was Disney dumbed it down for a kiddie audience and made The Little Mermaid sort of like a douchebag. Or just and taught kids the wrong lessons in life. Like, oh, it's okay to betray someone, or it's okay to kill someone over revenge. That's what Disney was thinking they were teaching kids with that movie. If you really wanted to remake something, remake The Little Mermaid. And I know that film is hugely nostalgic and classic and all that, but I definitely feel that movie needs a remake that's much closer to the story. So out of all the remakes they did, The Rocketeer, okay. I mean, personally, I don't think that sounds that good. I don't think we need a Rocketeers reboot. Also, I forgot to mention, this movie is also titled The Rocketeers. It's gonna be a reboot, which is a remake and a sequel, obviously. It's gonna have a black female lead. But the thing I forgot to mention was the movie's going to be titled The Rocketeers, which apparently Disney wants to set up more sequels of The Rocketeers, because they're saying, I've heard some people saying reports saying that they want to set up more sequels by the title. Yeah, great. We need another franchise of The Rocketeer. We need another cinematic universe. That doesn't make any sense anyway. So as I said before, we don't need a Rocketeer rebootquel. We don't need that. I just don't think that we need a rebootquel. Simply enough, the whole point of this video is I don't like the fact we're going to get a rebootquel of The Rocketeer. We don't need it. It's pointless. It's stupid. It's Disney saying, we're being progressive because we're going to have a black female Rocketeer. Even though that's not progressive, really. It's not really that progressive. And plus, it doesn't make financial sense either, because Ghostbusters, I know I keep referring to Ghostbusters, and it's really the only film I've seen done this, so that's why I'm referring to Ghostbusters. But that film is not doing well financially. It's going to be a miracle if it becomes some kind of success. And I'm just tired of remakes, reboots, and rebootquels. We don't need rebootquels because they don't make a whole lot of sense. It's a stupid way of bringing the old audience and the new audience together. And sometimes rebootquels work. I've only seen them a couple times. The Force Awakens I thought was a decently good movie. Now I haven't seen that movie in a long time, so I haven't seen it since the theater, so I don't know what my thoughts of the movie are now. But most of the time these rebootquels, these remakes, these reboots haven't turned that well in Hollywood. They're just fucking rehashes, fucking lazy cash grabs of classic films that I dearly love. And The Rocketeer is a film. The original Rocketeer is a great film, in my opinion. I know a lot of people say it's just a good film. It's not that good of a film. At least it doesn't deserve the huge classic underrated status it gets. I feel it's a really good superhero film. It was one of the very first superhero films I watched. It's a really good film. And actually, due to this announcement, I may watch The Rocketeer again. So hopefully, maybe if this film comes out, we get an actual good DVD release of the movie. Because for years, Disney is not really respected for The Rocketeer. I know I've already mentioned this point in the video already, but I want to elaborate on it more. Disney hasn't really shown too much respect for The Rocketeer over the years. I might be wrong. They did this 20-year anniversary screening of the movie at Walt Disney World, I think. I think it was Walt Disney World, not for sure. But they did this anniversary screening, and I really wanted to go to it, and that was pretty cool that they did that. But while their DVD releases, especially the new 25th anniversary version of the movie, because I actually rented it at my local library, fucking sucks. I mean, it doesn't have any features. It has no features at all. It's just the Blu-ray rip of the movie. And, excuse me. That's it. That's all it is. Just the movie. There's no features, no commentaries, no makings of the movie, no commentary by Joe Johnston or Bill Campbell. No features about the making of the movie or interviews with the actors and all this. No, none of that. We're just getting the fucking movie. Yeah, 25th anniversary edition, my ass. So, I don't know, hopefully maybe if this movie comes out, we get a real Rocketeer release with features and commentaries and behind the scenes and interviews and all that shit. If that's maybe one good thing that'll come from this film. But I seriously doubt it. I don't know if Disney will have the balls or even the will to do a Rocketeer DVD special that the Rocketeer really needs. But who knows? Overall, I guess you could say to the point of this video, I think this video has been it's been going on for a little too long. But my point is, I'm not excited for this rebootquel, remake, reboot, rehash, whatever you want to call it, of the Rocketeer, which stars a black female-led Rocketeer, and the movie is going to be titled The Rocketeers. I don't want it. I don't want this. I don't want no more remakes and reboots of my classic films in general. I don't want it no more. We don't need a Rocketeer rebootquel. We don't need a Ghostbusters remake, especially, and we don't need any more remakes and reboots. Stop it. Stop it. It's annoying. They don't, Hollywood hasn't shown me you can make good remakes like The Fly, or good remakes like True Grit, even though the original was pretty good. Just stop it. We don't need any more remakes. And overall, to the point of this video, I guess you could say, I don't like the fact that we're going to get a reboot of The Rocketeer, which stars a black female lead, and it's going to be titled The Rocketeers. And, people keep saying, I've seen a lot of people being surprisingly optimistic about this movie, and saying, this is a good idea. Good job, Disney. You're being progressive. This is a good idea, resurrecting an old franchise. It makes financial sense, yeah, but does it make sense from a movie-making perspective? Does it? Really? I mean, everybody points out the financial aspect of it, but does it make sense if you do in the movie-making perspective? And you know what? If people, I think hopefully if this reboot comes out and people just say it's okay and it's, it's not that great, there's nothing really original about it, it's just kind of lazy, but I still like it, it's a turn off your brain type of remake, a reboot cool, then I think that people in general, I think remakes and reboots in general will just keep pumping out and people will say, yeah, cool, more remakes and reboots in Hollywood, that's exactly what we need. Fuck the original ideas in movies. Then I think that we will eventually get that Back to the Future reboot that everybody doesn't want. And I know what you're gonna say. Zemeckis said in an interview, apparently I'm not gonna do the movie over my dead body, and he's not even gonna let his estate let it happen. And I know he says over my dead body we're not gonna get a Back to the Future reboot. But I think that maybe if we keep saying, cool, make more reboots and rebootquels and remakes and rehashes and reimaginings of our classic films, and Disney keeps and Hollywood keeps pumping out mediocre, okay to bad reboots and remakes and rebootquels, the problem is that we will get to a Back to the Future reboot. We will get to that film that nobody wants to go watch. And I know it might never happen. Maybe if this trend breaks, and I'm hoping it never happens, because we do not need a Back to the Future reboot. Thank God we do not need a Back to the Future reboot. But as I said before, if this trend continues, we might get a Back to the Future reboot. So, yeah, and that's really all I gotta say in this video. That's really all I gotta say. Once again, the Rocketeer reboot, the sequel / reboot that's gonna star a black female lead, it's gonna have a kooky cartoon plot, it's gonna have a black female Rocketeer. Yeah, I'm not excited at all. Fuck this reboot or or whatever. Fuck it. It's stupid. Disney, I hope that you reconsider your plan of doing this, but it's already too late because they're already greenlighting the movie. And once again, I could eat my words. This film could be good. It could be surprisingly good. Not as good as the original, but still good. But I doubt that. A lot of remakes and reboots and rebootquels I've seen lately, except The Force Awakens, haven't been that impressive. Jurassic World is a rebootquel, and I did not like that film that much. I didn't like it. I didn't hate it, and I didn't think it was okay. I just didn't like the movie. That was really assaulting. It had plot holes. It tried way too hard on some things, and I think that was a bad movie. And I have no idea to this day how that film made $1 billion. And yeah, I just don't like it. We don't need that. We don't need this rebootquel. We don't need a film that I cherished, a Rocketeer, a great film, a really good superhero film, in my opinion, to just get shitted on by this stupid rebootquel that Disney wants to make up to make more money, to resurrect an old franchise. And I know people are going to say it's 25 years old, makes financial sense. But in my opinion, like I said before, it doesn't make sense in a movie-making perspective, in my opinion. And overall, I'm not excited for this rebootquel, whatever you want to call it, of The Rocketeer, or The Rocketeers, with a black female lead. I don't want it. Fuck this movie. And that's it. See you guys later.